Hi, folks. Welcome to another episode of Film Study. This is Ken McKusick, and it's time for this week's episode of One Last Thing. Joining me today, Shawn Asher. Shawn, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Ken. I'm excited for this week's topic.
Yeah, a fun one. So we thought we'd have some prop bets, and we're going to do some of them are game related. So mine are basically on the Jets game. They're all kind of football related, and Shawn did more of some ones that will tell us, Shawn.
Well, it's time to have some fun. Like, Ravens are trending in the right direction. I'm tired of hearing doom and gloom. I was like, let's enjoy this. Even whatever happens in Cleveland, like, let's enjoy the season. Like, let's enjoy. So, I went into less like over under, and like, kind of betting line, but like try to use our brains with the injuries and all the things that are going, and have some fun with it.
Okay, so we're recording this before the Browns game. That's important. We're recording this on Saturday nights. They represent our opinions as of then. Things might change. So if you see a betting line, don't jump the same way we did necessarily, or don't use our advice too strongly. But Shawn, I'll start us off, and I've got the less interesting ones, I think. So why don't I start off for the Jets game? Zay Flowers over or under 58.5 receiving yards.
That's tough, man. So Bateman probably out. Um, I think I'm gonna take the over on this just because of all the trades the Jets did on defense. Like that makes me wanna take the over on, say, Flowers.
Okay, so we got a couple things going on here. Zay Flowers is 58.5 this week against the Browns. The Browns probably do represent a bigger threat to the Ravens in terms of what they pose defensively. Of course, Zay Flowers has a game to get through to be okay to play against the Jets. And I was thinking that there is a possibility for an under on that. I don't think it's all super attractive either way at 58.5 because I think there's also a chance the game gets out of hand. If it does, then I think Zay Flowers isn't catching a whole lot of passes. The Ravens have 16 fourth quarter plays and they run it 14 times, I'm hoping. So maybe we even see Huntley again in this game.
And sorry, I looked at the Jets and I'm thinking about these prop bets and where we're going. And I looked at their record, 2-6 or whatever it
Mm-hmm.
is. They've only won 2 games. They've only really had one game that they really weren't in where they lost by 20. Everything else was like one or two scores that's pretty close. So I'm like, maybe I'm off about the Jets and their record isn't telling the whole story. But I don't know. Could be a blowout. Definitely
Yeah,
could be.
they're 2-8, I think, right now. So going into week 11 here, they have not had their bye week yet. So they may be off this week. I'm not sure. Yeah, they've already played the Patriots. That's what it is. In week 11, they've already played the Patriots. But you're right. They've certainly played some close games so far this year.
Yeah. So anyway, my first prop bet. I tried to tabulate stats, and this got way out of hand way too quickly. And I was like, I don't want to do this with Excel. But um, longest TD over under 16 yards, and if you're taking the over, who?
I would go the over on over under 16 yards. Probably the easiest answer is to say it's Derrick Henry to get an over under 16 yards, or it's Lamar Jackson throwing it would be the other way to go. Um,
Who's
a
catching
whole,
that ball?
a whole bunch of people could catch the ball. It could be Tez Walker. I'd like to see maybe him playing with Bateman out. I think that'd be one of the exciting things to look at. And it certainly could be Mark Andrews because he catches an awful lot of any distance.
I'm taking the over on that too. I can't disagree. And I'm also, Ted's is my guy. That's where I'm
Tez is
going
your
with that.
guy.
Yep.
All right. Well, that'd be great. I think we'd be really happy with that. Okay, here's one. It's a negative one, and it's Lamar Jackson over or under 0.5 interceptions. I guess the line would be the same if it were over under 0.25 interceptions. But anyway, the
Yeah.
under pays $1.50 and the over pays $2.55. So your $1 returns you 150. It's only 50 cents of earnings on your money. And think of it like a $1 window at horse racing. And $1 gets you back $1.55 in profit on the over, taking the over.
Man, I can't bring my heart to bet against Lamar. I can't do it. I can't do it. So I have to go under. Um, and it's the love for Lamar, and I just have to be optimistic at all times for Lamar. And he's our quarterback, he's our guy. That's my quarterback, right? But also, I'm thinking that he's going to start changing the narrative about MVP in the next coming weeks. So
Could be.
I'm going under.
All right, I think I'm under also in that. It's 3-2 versus 1-2. At 3-2, I don't I just don't see that as being enough juice to take Jackson. If you think about it on 3-2, if he had only one interception games, then he'd have an interception 2 out of every 5 games for this bet to be a decent one. And that would be like, what, about 7 interceptions in a year. He hasn't been averaging nearly that high. And also, there's the likelihood that he'd have some grouped interceptions. So I think in a game where I would expect his total passes to be lower, I'm taking the under on that number and trying to win 50 cents on my dollar also.
And I think I remember us having a season. I remember you've talked about it in the past multiple times about Mark Andrews and targeting Mark Andrews and that being a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it was one season and then it wasn't good another season or something. But memory serves me correctly, targets to Mark Andrews are doing pretty well. And that kind of correlates with Lamar having pretty decent season so far for the games he's been healthy.
Yeah, they haven't been as good as they have been the last 2 years. So the 143 rating passing to the tight end the last 2 years combined with 30 touchdowns and 1 interception. There's been 2 tight end interceptions this year. One of them was Lamar's, and the other one I think was a rush interception. But still, Lamar's only interception was throwing to Andrews down the right sideline, and I forget who undercut the ball. It might have been Shawn of the Chiefs. Does that sound right? Yeah.
That sounds right. Yeah. Only one. I'll take it.
All right. I think it's your turn.
Okay. So I thought something again. I was like, the Jets are awful. This is going to be a bad game because the record. I didn't dig too deeply before I started thinking about this, but I was like, we're gonna have a field day. I was like, what's likely to happen? The Jets are going to shoot themselves in the foot with penalty yards. Ravens are going to play a really clean game. That led me to look into penalty yards. Ravens. So over under 41. I'll give you the backup over or under for 41 penalty yards for the Ravens for this game. And I'll give you current stats. We are the 8th best team with 48.6 yards per game, 42.4 yards per game at home, which this game will be at home. And as of recording, the last 3 games we're trending in the wrong direction with 54.3 yards per game. So over under 41 penalty yards for the Ravens.
So this largely comes down to pass interference calls, I think, and whether or not they get a long pass interference call in the game. That certainly would put you over. The Jets are going to be without Garrett Wilson for the game. Justin Fields doesn't throw a lot, period, anyway. I would probably take the under even at 41 yards. I don't want to take the positive on the Ravens every single time here, but I kind of like that number at under 41, given how I think the game is likely to play out.
I tried to set it so low. I tried to go, I'm like, how low can I get to get him to bait him into it? I agree with you. I also, would you have guessed for the 8th best? I wouldn't have.
Probably not. They did have more pass interference calls earlier in the year, but the offensive line has had a decent year of not getting penalized. So,
and all that fodder on Twitter about how awful our offensive line is consistently, it's wild.
All right, so my turn here. Let's toss out another one. Let's go with, well, this is a pretty easy one. Roquan Smith over or under 8.5 tackles.
Taking the over. Definitely taking the over. It's a running offense. They're going to want to run the ball. They don't have a lot of they don't have a lot of trust in Justin Fields to be throwing a ton. I'm definitely taking the over on that one.
Okay, I think I might take a surprise under there. One of the reasons is, yes, I think they will run the ball a lot. I think Roquan then becomes very key. I think also this is a game where they might try and get Roquan out for the fourth quarter, and we see Jake Hummel in there. Maybe they don't have the incentive to play Jay Higgins right now, but they do have the incentive to get Trenton Simpson back on the field, playing with Buchanan, possibly give Buchanan some more green dot experience. So anyway, I'll take the under on 8.5 tackles.
Good thought process there. I like that one. For my next ones, I kind of went into like season, the rest of the season, because I'm like, really just mostly interested in what you're thinking on these things. So it's like, let's go in a different direction. Harbaugh. Everybody hates Harbaugh, right? That's also on Twitter. 57% success rate on challenges. Current average for this season, 42%. Or no, I set the line at 57% success rate. His average all time is 42%, and he's 50% this season. So can he trend up by another 7% for the rest of the season?
Okay, so that's 57% for the rest of the season from this point. That's not taking his 50% into account and
Finishing at 57. Sorry, finishing at 57.
So he'd have to get like 65% of the challenges under.
Correct.
For sure.
Under.
Yeah,
wow.
For
okay.
sure. Because I think one of the things that's going on with the analytics people, the headset elves who talk into Harbaugh's ear during the game, is they'll try and give him a percentage chance that they think the call gets reversed. And if it's 30 or 40, he might go for it. And they would take the chance on it. It's not Harbaugh's fault. If his analytics people really told him there's a 30 or 40% chance that they thought they'd get the call reversed, it's often the right choice to make under the circumstances. In fact, I think it gets inspected more closely that way. Now, they don't have a lot of time to think through that, but there is somebody watching it who's trying to give them information. And of course, whoever the opposing team is will try and get the line of scrimmage quickly and run a play.
Interesting. Good education. Thank you. There's also the layer of sometimes a challenge is a challenge. It's also just a timeout, right?
Okay.
Like if it's 30% chance of getting it and defense needs a break, or they need to get their ducks in a row on offense and figure out what play to call in this crucial situation anyway, he's probably more likely to call the challenge there, even if it is only a 30% chance of getting it.
Right. Good point. I would agree with that. All right. Let's see. What do we got next here? How about the opening line on the Jets game? Over or under 10.5? Meaning more than 10.5 or less than 10.5.
Man, I'm shocked it's that low after looking at all the scores of the Jets games.
No, it's not. We have no line on the game so far. I'm saying, what will the opening line be?
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
10.5. Yeah.
Okay, now I understand. Man, what will the opening line be? Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna go under. I'm gonna think it's a 9-point game. That's what I would
9-point
guess.
game.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a strong feeling on this one, so I'm not taking a side. I don't. I tried to set it so that I thought it was really a 50-50 chance you'd take it, and I don't have a strong preference either way. I think the Ravens will be at home. We've just been through a couple games in a row where they're 7.5, 8.5 point favorites. Even at Minnesota, who's not a terrible team by any stretch, they're 4.5 point favorites. So I would think the line against the Jets at home is going to be pretty juicy.
Yeah, fair. I have two more. We have time for both?
Oh, sure.
Okay. So one for the Jets game. Made field goal over or under 30 yards. Loop average points per game. I wasn't really trying to tabulate his average total because I'd have to go look at every single kick, and I just not interested in doing that. But his average per game is 32.8. So over or under his longest kick being 30 yards.
Yeah, well over. I think the chance of kicking one field goal of 30 plus yards is high. You got to get down to the 12-yard line to inside the 12-yard line for a shorter field goal. And I don't know his number of field goals per game, but it's got to be. It's I would definitely take over that. And it's just me going by sense only. How about you?
I'm going under, and there has to be a breakdown here because the stats I'm reading, his average per game is 32.8 yards. That's his average. That makes way more sense. Okay. Yeah, I'm going under, man. I think the offense is going to be efficient. I think we're not going to have many field goals. I wouldn't shock me if he doesn't even kick once.
Okay, he's made 11 out of 11 field goals from 30 to 49 and 1 out of 3 from 50 plus, where his only 2 misses are. He's only had 4 field goals shorter than 30 yards, but you did say over or under 30. Boy, nah, I think he'd. How many games did he actually make it? 1, 2, 3, 4. Nope. 4, 5, 6, 7. So far, 7 of the 9 games, he's had a field goal over 30 yards.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. All right. Well, yeah. Okay. Anyway, I'll take that one. Hopefully, that's an advantage play for me, and I'll make a couple bucks off you on that one.
Here we go.
Okay. How about Derrick Henry over or under half a touchdown? And there's a line on this one. If you want the over, it'll only pay you $1.80. But if you take the under, it'll pay you $2 on your dollar. So you get even money for the under, and you get only 4 to 5 on the over.
Half a touchdown?
Half a touchdown or 3/4 of a touchdown. Same line.
Yeah.
In fact, over. I'll offer it all the way up to 0.9 of a touchdown.
I'm going over. I have to go over. It seems like since the bye, the Ravens' offense and their personnel and their decisions about who's in when have been a lot more in alignment with what we as fans have been shouting and screaming that we want to see more of. So going with over in thinking that we're going to get to the red zone, we're going to get to the goal line, and they're going to use Henry to hammer it in.
Well, he's definitely had more rushing attempts in recent weeks. The first 4 weeks, he had 18, 11, 12, 8. And then since then, he's had 15, 24, 21, 19, 20. So he's been much more of almost exactly 20 carries per game for the last 5. Certainly over the last 4, he's been over that. So not an unreasonable hope. And they seem to have been leaving him in for longer. And they've also got the question of Justice Hill take his place. Now, the counterpoint would be that Rasheen Ali will never really have another chance to hit the field. And there's a great opportunity to get Keaton Mitchell more carries in a game like against the Jets. I think they want to get Keaton Mitchell more carries when the game's on the line, not when the game is over, in which case I think Rasheen Ali should get some playing time.
I get that logic. And there's also something to be said about maybe this season they're trying to keep Henry fresh for December, January football. And, maybe all the vitriol about Justice Hill getting the snaps and Keaton not getting snaps, and all of that was really just trying to keep Derrick Henry moving in December and January football.
Could be. He's barely below a 300 carry expectation right now, so he's right around probably about 290 based on what he's done so far.
Yep. So my last one, kind of a complex one, so bear with me. For the season, how many flex / primetime games are we going to have left? Obviously, Cleveland's not going to happen. The Jets can happen, but it can't because we're right now, as recording this, we're already within the 21-day window of them having to decide to flex it.
I thought it was 12, but that's okay. Yeah.
Maybe it's 12.
It's not gonna be changed anyways.
We're a week out. It's 2 and yeah, exactly. Then Bengals game can't be flexed because Thanksgiving. Those schedules are set and locked. So what we have left is a week 14 at 1 p.m. for Pittsburgh, week 15 1 p.m. for Cincy, week 16 1 p.m. with New England. Week 17 is a TBD. Week 18 TBD against Green Bay, and Week 18 is TBD against Pittsburgh. So we have 5 games left that could be prime time. How many do you think would be prime time?
What's your bogey? What's your over under you're offering me? If you didn't do that
1.5.
already,
1.5.
1.5 is the right number, I think. So the question is whether or not that's a good bet as an over or under. I think there's always a pretty good chance a Pittsburgh game gets flexed. I don't know that there's a good reason why they would flex 2, but I'll give you one, that the January 4th game could be flexed into prime time because it's for the division title. So that certainly could happen. We hope it's not. We hope they've got that decided before then. It would be very bad if that's for the division title at that point. The Green Bay game is certainly a possibility of getting flexed into primetime. I don't know what the other games are that week. The New England game is a possibility. That's a couple of AFC powerhouses. I don't think the second Cincinnati game will be done. And the game in Baltimore versus the Steelers. Normally, I really hate night games, particularly at home. They really throw off the schedule for analysis. But the Ravens are so good at night games at home. I would really love for that one to be flexed into prime time. So I think I'd take the over at 1.5.
I think I'm
yeah.
sorry. I think I'm right there with you, man. At
Okay.
1.5, at taking the over. I think so too.
So you think probably it'd be exactly 2?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And that's 2 plus the Bengals game. So it's really 3 primetime games the Ravens have left on their
Correct. Yep.
schedule. Okay.
My logic was it's probably going to be the Week 18 Pittsburgh end of the season for the division. Like it's probably going to be that, and it's going to be interesting. And the NFL loves that. Everybody loves that, right? I also thought New England would be the other one. I don't know who's slated right now. I didn't look it up, but New England's doing well. And if the Ravens are in contention at week 16 and New England's, still has the division or is in second place for the division, depending on what happens there, that's an interesting game.
Yeah. No, I'll buy it. I like the thing. There's the January 4th game, it can go either way for the Ravens to be out. And the NFL is really limited in terms of how they can do it. So if there's a possibility of a 3-way tie in the division, they wouldn't make that the primetime game. So if the Bengals were somehow in it, if there was some permutation where the Bengals could win it, they wouldn't put the Steelers and Ravens on in prime time to finish the season. So I think it's really question whether the 7th or the January 4th is the more likely one to be put in prime time. But interesting prop there, though. Thanks for coming up with that.
Yep, absolutely.
We'll do one more, and it won't be as good as any of the other ones you came up with. How about Justin Fields, over under on him being sacked by the Ravens, 2.5?
2.5. It's a good line. It's a good line. I would bet Mike Green is good for 1. I would bet either it's Kyle Hamilton or Kyle Van Noy is good for another one. Can I get one more? I think I'm going to take the under.
Okay, I'm the under on that too. Part of it is that I don't think Fields will be throwing that often, but Fields will give you a sack when he tries to get a run off. So if he tries to leave the pocket, much like Lamar does, and will often take a 1 or 2 yard sack that can do that. He gets sacked a lot, despite not having a lot of passing attempts himself.
Yep. If we weren't running 2 of our heaviest bodies on the defensive line every single play, I'd take the over or easily. Even if it's not Matabike, and his caliber talent. But if we had a true pass rusher in there, I'd take the over, even if it's not a Pro Bowl caliber player.
All right. Well, very cool. Appreciate doing this with you, Shawn. A lot of fun. I appreciate all the effort you put into yours in particular, and a lot of fun. Anyway, tell folks where they can talk football with you online.
I am on Twitter at @bmore_SKY_high. Be more sky high.
All right. Other folks out there, thanks so much for listening. If you have an idea for a short, best time is after the Bengals game, because there will be a couple extra days in there with that are currently blank, and I would like to have some available content made. And if you have something passionate, DM me, and I'll get back to you very quickly, and we'll come up with a good idea or come up with a good angle on the topic you have, and we'll do it very quickly. For Shawn Asher, this is Ken McKusick saying goodbye. We'll talk to you next week on One Last Thing.